this part of my neck, I don't know if you guys can tell, is swollen. And because it's so swollen, you can tell my pulse. It's throbbing like that. Let me see if you guys can see that. So they said last night, it's now almost 7 o'clock in the morning. It's Saturday, September 16th, almost 7 in the morning. And they said it was easy for them to sync, probably because I was so swollen that they could sync to my pulse. So let me just show you how I look. And I'll tell you what they were talking about, their suggested topics. They said it was important for me to see these videos because I'm one of the few people who could see the videos. That's a lie. We know that because if you just search for gang stalking dreams and videos, people are talking about it, so I'm not somebody who can see them. So they said it was important that I see them because, let me see if I can get my voice better. They said it's important that I see them because that was how they built this. They called it the Shamega ecosystem. So I'm going to title it that. So they said that they pay people to create dreams for me. And they said Felicia Allers is one of the people they paid based on like things I told her. So my point to you becomes, if they were doing this all my life, they wouldn't have to use Felicia Allers. And I don't understand why. So they said something about Eric Shafir and he wrote notes on me. And that's part of what I'm telling you, that if you're listening to what they're saying, they're proving me right. That these aren't people who I would be safe around or trust because they were doing this. And if they were doing it at the time I was around them, and I haven't been around them for like years and years and years, they weren't people I could trust. So they said that the reason they have to do this is because it was meant to discredit me. That's what I've been saying to you. That if these people are around me and their goal is to discredit me so I wouldn't be believed, they're not people I can trust. And I told you, this goes back to what I said to you before about sometimes you look at a person and there are tests that come out anyway in life, but sometimes you look at a person and you look at them and say, can I trust you with my life? Can I trust you with my secrets? Can I trust you with being around me? And that's part of what I'll call it a process. Because for me, I told you, this is my mission. This is my journey. This is a process for me to see, was I right about these folks? I was. And I wasn't the only one right about these people. And when you're going through your life and your journey and the process, and you're looking back at something and you're saying, well, I couldn't trust them. Years and years later, I still can't trust them. So they would never come back into my life. So when these people put them in my life, they literally placed them in my life because they knew I couldn't trust them. And they knew that they would be the people who would bring me down. So they said when they tried to destroy my allies, these aren't my allies. So they just said something about a video I did called Friend or Foe. And that's my point. They seem to have, these people doing this, wanted me to see these dreams because if I see these dreams, it will mess with my head, which was my last video. And that was their goal, messing with my head. So by putting these foes back into my life designed to mess with my head, they thought that these people would be able to bring me down. But unfortunately for those people already knew who they were. You get what I'm saying? When people know who you are, You can't present yourself as something else. Okay, so that's that. The next thing they suggested was, they said that there are people sitting in Israel creating these dreams. And before they said that that's why the times are what they are, because they send the dreams over at specific times. And I said in a previous video, they used to talk about 3 a.m. something, 6 a.m. something. And before they were saying out loud that Felicia's dreams would come in because she would make her own dreams at a certain time. And what I'm telling you folks is that they're saying right now something about a computer programmer that would help, because it seems like they send the dreams a certain time and you need a computer to translate the dream so that they could send it to me. And they said, I'm supposed to see these dreams, and the fact that I don't messed up everything. But I'm telling you, it's illegal. You can't, I mean, how many times can you explain to people doing something that's illegal can't be messed up because it's supposed to be messed up because it's illegal? Do you understand? I'm not even understanding their arguments anymore. So they said they wanted me to help them come up with arguments against cases. There are lawyers. Who would choose me to come up with a legal argument against a case instead of, I don't know, a lawyer? It doesn't even make any sense at this point. But the reason they're doing this is they talked about what I talked about in the previous video about predicting my behavior, because they felt that if they could time out, and I'll use that because they said it that way, time out my behavior, they could be there before I got there. You get what I mean? So it's getting ahead of me. And who wants to get ahead of something unless you're doing something illegal? So if you're doing something legal, you don't have to get out ahead of it. But they wanted to get out ahead of it. So it's part of the whole point. It goes all the way back to human trafficking. Because if you can get out ahead of your prey, I'll call it that, your prey, then you can time out that person and know exactly how to get to that person. You can figure out what will that person fall for. You can figure out who that person will fall for. And it goes back to 2016. So they were saying, they tried to cover up the fact that they weren't really doing this before then with stories from Felicia and Eric. They said they tried to get stories from my ex-boyfriend Michael, but he didn't go along with it. And what else did they say? They said they brought in specific men to try to lure me in 2016, 2017. Because in 2015, there weren't any of these gorgeous men. They call them honeypots. There weren't any honeypots coming around me in 2015. And that's my point. That goes back, they said, well, then that means you're not a lesbian. Of course that means that. But that's my point. All of this is making sense in my process because they already knew I wasn't a lesbian. But that was something they said. They said I was a lesbian to annoy me and harass me. But it never harassed me or annoyed me, and I didn't really hear it. And that's my point. They said this technology didn't exist the same way. So I didn't hear being called a lesbian, but it wouldn't have annoyed or harassed me because, again, this is what I'm telling you about these folks. So they said, you can hear the hissing sound. I told you in a previous video. That's how you know this technology, they're using this technology. They said that they would do that to annoy and harass me, but I didn't hear it. But if I heard it, it wouldn't have been a big deal for me because that's who they are. So now the next thing they suggest they're talking about is they said they wouldn't have used this on me if they knew it wouldn't work or something along those lines. And that's my point. If you are developing technology that you say can predict my behavior, then you didn't predict my behavior, did you? The other point about this is that if you have to get out ahead of something, then there must be something you have to get out ahead of. Okay, they're not talking as much now because that just proves that they wanted to get out ahead of something. So I'm going to end this video with that, and I'm going to do I'll do more videos today. Thank you for watching.